Hey, what's up guys? Today I want to show you how I fix cars that have been vandalized. Now this car, somebody poured paint stripper basically all over this car. And it's a black car and it's a very big car because it's a Dodge Challenger. Now I already started the sanding process on this quarter panel. This quarter panel basically looked like this fender. So basically, somebody just poured paint stripper all over this car. Now this is a nightmare to fix. And we have paint stripper that went on the door. The whole quarter panel basically had paint stripper. And on top of the paint stripper, they keyed it and scratched the car. So it's basically a lot of work to fix this kind of problem. There's also some paint stripper that got on the inside of the fender, and there's also paint stripper that got on the hood. Now I just removed the hood basically because when I have a big car like this and a big paint job, I like to remove the hood just to have a nice breaking point because I have to do the roof too, so I'm gonna be able to go all around the car and have a nice stopping point with my clear coat, and it just makes it a little bit easier, more convenient for me to do this type of job with the hood off. Now I have a video on that I talked about that, so I'll link it right here if you guys want to check it out. But basically, that's the only reason I took it off. Now I have a lot of work to do on this, so I'm gonna try to get through this fast and explain as best as I can what I'm gonna do here. Now this fender, I requested to have the fender taken off so that I could just completely strip the fender with paint stripper and get a nice clean strip and metal, just bare metal on the fender, and that request was denied. So now I have to just basically take the paint off manually, and I'm gonna be using a machine that I call, and most of the guys that work here call, a hog. It's just a big orbital sander. It's like a DA. It sands the same way a DA sands, and it's just bigger so I could cut down the material faster and take it off quicker. So this is like an 8-inch sandpaper on here. It will cut through this very quickly. Now I'm gonna start with 40 grit just to get through it faster. Now if you don't have too much experience using this kind of machine and heavy grip paper, don't start with 40 grit, maybe start with 80 grit. But I'm gonna start with 40 grit because I wanna cut down through this quick. I need to get this car in primer and I have a lot of work to do today. So I'm gonna cut down that fender basically to bare metal, and I need to start going quickly, and this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna use this machine and then I'm gonna use a DA, right? So I'm gonna use that machine. I'm gonna start with my 40 grit and then I'm gonna step it up because you can't primer in 40 grit. So I'm gonna use 40 grit, then I'm gonna go up to 80, then I'm gonna start hitting it with my DA paper with the 120, and then finish it off with 180. Now I know what you're thinking, that's a lot of steps. It'd be easier just to strip it. That's why I wanted the fender off. Now I can't strip it with the fender on the car because I take a chance in stripper falling on the tire, on the rim, maybe on some plastic inside of the motor area. I don't want that to happen because paint stripper is very high in chemicals and it will destroy anything else that it falls on, and I don't want to cause any problems on the car. I mean, paint stripper is very, 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 if you ever use paint stripper, you know what I'm talking about. It basically burns through anything that it touches. So that's why I'm not stripping it on the car. I don't want to take any chances and anything else getting damaged. So I'm gonna start sanding this down with the 40 grit and my hog paper and try to get this ready for primer. Now if you notice, when I'm using this big orbital sander, or when sanding anything for that matter, especially when you're sanding something with a heavy grip paper like 40 grit, make sure to not just stay in one spot. Make sure to move back and forth, and go over multiple times until you get to where you need to get, like to the metal. You don't want to stay in one spot for too much time because you'll overheat the metal and then it'll warp the metal and then that'll cause an even bigger problem. And that's why I was saying in the beginning of the video that if you don't have too much experience with this kind of machine and this kind of grit paper, maybe don't start with the 40 grit. You can do this with the D8 and you can start off with like an 80 grit and you get the same results if you can't paint, if you can't strip it because it's on the car. But if you do use the same procedure, just don't stay in one spot. Keep moving back and forth until you reach the bare metal because you don't want to overheat the metal. It will warp and then it will cause more problems for you. So remember that. Back to you. Quick tip, always make sure to keep your D8 flat. Don't ever angle it in any way. Always keep it flat and move it back and forth and up and down. Don't ever angle it like this. Because all you're going to be doing is digging into the paint. That's not what you want to do. You want to feather. Okay? Back to it. Okay. I basically got 80 to 85% of the material and the paint completely sanded off, almost to complete bare metal. Now, I hit this with 40, now I'm gonna go up to 80 grit. After I hit this with 80 grit, I'm gonna step it up to 120 grit. And that's the natural way of stepping up things in the sandpaper industry and the way we're supposed to step sandpaper up. So it goes from the lowest number to the highest number. That's how you feather things. That's how you feather sand scratches. And because you can't primer on 40 grit, you have to take it to the minimum is to 180 grit. That's the proper step up for sandpaper for primer. All right? Okay, here's an example of what feathering is supposed to look like. So here I have bare metal. And here I have what's called wash primer. This is to protect the metal. And then this is regular primer, and then this is base coat, and then clear. So this is considered feathering because every step of the painting process is removed one layer at a time and feathered back. So that way it's even with whatever I'm gonna put on top of here, because if you leave it just with all the material basically not feathered properly, you're gonna get a line when you paint this over here because it's gonna be too much material. But when you feather it back, it softens up the material. That way when I lay my primer on here, it's gonna have a nice even surface because this is metal, and then this is feathered back to the first layer, second layer, third layer, the last layer is clear, and this is sanded down enough so that's all feathered properly. Now that's the step down process. That's how you feather properly. You wanna see multiple layers, 1, 2, 3, and then the clear layer is sanded down smoothly as well. You don't want to leave the material high. You want to feather it properly because this is the proper way to primer something and paint it, especially when you're coming from something like bare metal. Because if not, it's going to leave a line. It's going to look very unprofessional. It's going to leave a line, and when it dries and settles, you're going to see that and it's going to look terrible. Trust me, I've seen people that have done that before. It doesn't look right. Okay guys, so this is where I am right now. So we basically finished sanding everything and feathering it, and I have it in the booth masked up and ready for primer. Now everything got finished off with some 180 and then some 320. That's where I am right now. So I basically got the whole side in bare metal, except for the bottom of the door over here, which just had a little bit of the paint stripper, and I feathered it off, and it feels pretty good. So let me show you. See that? It's nice and feathered. I know it seems like there's something there, but I felt that it's not. So I'm gonna put a couple extra coats of primer in this spot right here so that I could block it out later on. But it's basically at this point in bare metal. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get as much of it in bare metal as possible. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a wash primer. It's a specially formulated primer to stick to large bare metal areas like this. And it kind of looks like what they use in the factory, like this green primer. So that's going to go down first, and then I'm going to put like 4 coats of primer on this whole side. Now I also have the hood, which had a little bit of paint stripper here, and on the roof there was a high spot that got repaired by the body man, and then there was a scratch here that we took care of, and then some light body work right here. And now I'm getting ready to primer this. I'm gonna get started with the wash primer like I said before, and then my regular primer. Well, there she is, all primed up and ready to be sanded down for paint. Now, before this is all done, I like to spray a nice coat of Guage-Sata, which consists of a different color to what the primer is. So if the primer is a dark gray, I like to put a light gray. And if the primer is a dark gray, and if the primer is a light gray, I like to put a dark color on it. So usually what I like to use is I'll just use my can primer, and this is a light gray can primer, and I'll just spray it all over my primered area. This is gonna show me any imperfections in the primer, any imperfections in the bodywork, and any imperfections anywhere on the car that I might have missed. Okay, spray some can primer on here, and I'm done. Okay, usually when I'm doing a full paint job like this and I'm painting the roof, I usually start on the highest point, which is the roof. So I start on the roof, I do both sides of the roof, then I come down, and then I start the front of the car, and then go work my way around the car, and then repeat the process 3 times, because I'm putting 3 coats of paint on this car. Well guys, that's it. The job came out nice and beautiful. Everything was done properly, and it came out nice and smooth. Well guys, that's it for me for today. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I post a new video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Bye.